This next diary focuses on medications and therapeutic measures to help manage the condition. So I hope someone can find this episode helpful. And these diaries are really just me sharing my experience. Everyone's going to have a really unique, different experience and journey, but I think that equally so many of us will draw so many parallels between each other and probably feel so seen and heard hearing other people's stories. So I hope that can bring some comfort. But here goes with the next episode. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the treatments, medications and procedures I've had to help deal with my endometriosis. And I've tried many things over the years. So in terms of medications, I've had pain with periods since the age of 13, since the onset of my menstrual cycle, and very abnormal pain with my periods. Pain that would cause me to pass out, to violently throw up, just pain that I couldn't stand or function or do things with, pain that I couldn't maneuver through. I just had to have a day in bed managing this pain. So I would take things like paracetamol and ibuprofen to start with, but I had absolutely no pain relief from ibuprofen and paracetamol. One of the problems I had was because I used to constantly vomit and throw up with my periods, I couldn't keep anything down, and then taking things like ibuprofen I think had negative side effects, because sometimes I would be taking them on an empty stomach and I think it would exacerbate the pain and the vomiting and just I think it led to future complications with gastro, bile, and all kinds of things. So in terms of, those were the first things I was trying, and they didn't even touch the sides. I was later prescribed things like Ponstan and mefenamic acid, which again did nothing. I would just be vomiting. I tried taking them days in advance. I was advised by the GP to try and take these painkillers about 3 or 4 days before my period was due. Granted, I've always had regular cycles, but it didn't matter what I tried. That never helped at all. If anything, I used to feel like sometimes I felt worse. I felt like a real acid sensation. I felt like I was developing symptoms of acid reflux, thinking back to those days when I'd be throwing up. And it didn't help. So for years and years, I tried to manage with literally paracetamol, ibuprofen, mefenamic acid. I would buy the Feminax that you'd get from the supermarket, which was basically ibuprofen with, I think, something called lysine added in. Again, not helpful, didn't do anything to help. Eventually I was put on the combined pill because I passed out in public from a really bad pain episode, a bad pain flare-up when I was trying to commute, and I lost consciousness, went dizzy, passed out. And that time when I visited my GP, reporting that outcome, they prescribed me with the pill. And I was on the pill for 10 years. I'd say that the pill did a good job at the beginning of helping to mask, I guess, the disease. You know, the pain was still there. It had calmed down. I'd say there was like a good maybe 20% calming down of the symptoms for the first couple of years. And then after being on the pill for many years, the symptoms just came back as badly as they were before. So the pill, different types of combined pill. I tried Yasmin, microgynon, a few others. I tried the mini pill, which wasn't helpful because it just was messing up my cycle. I then think I tried naproxen. I've also taken Buscopan and the anti-inflammatories that are inserted anally. Typically when I've gone into A&E with pain flare-ups, those are ones that they like to give. I think they're quite fast acting and they work sort of locally. So that's, I've forgotten what it's called, but that is a type of anti-inflammatory that I've taken and still take sometimes. Other painkillers I've had are cocodamol, codeine, and tramadol and naproxen are pretty much the main ones that I take now to help manage the pain. The main form of analgesic. But I've also had many other things, like I take Dulcocet, Lanzaprazole to help with the acid build up from taking these medications long term. Dulcocet to help combat the constipation that can be caused by taking such strong painkillers like tramadol. In terms of hormones, as well as the pill, I've had the Mirena coil fitted. I've had the coil fitted twice to help manage the fact that there's also adenomyosis as well as endo. So they advise the coil to help lighten the bleeds. I guess in theory, prevent more excessive growth of the adenomyosis tissue within the uterus, and to also help with the fibroids. So I've also tried Visan, which is a Dianogest-based hormone, like a strong progesterone. Didn't agree with me at all. I had the worst side effects. I tried Ryako more recently, which I could only be on for just over a month. I couldn't manage with the side effects. So yeah, quite a few different hormonal treatments. The Mirena comes with its challenges. It's very painful after insertion, causes painful spasms. I've had my Mirena stuck and lodged. So I think because I have a retroverted uterus, I don't know if that's got something to do with it, but the Mirena doesn't sit comfortably. I've had ultrasounds, transvaginal ultrasounds, where I've been told the strings can't be seen. My strings have gone missing. But because of the fact that there's adenomyosis, endometriosis and fibroids, I have kept the Mirena just to try and help manage the heavy bleeds and at least help to control that side. In terms of pain, it hasn't been successful in treating my pain. But yeah, I've had multiple ultrasounds, multiple transvaginal ultrasounds, multiple MRIs. I've had colonoscopies. I've had tubal dye testing. I have had 3 surgical laparoscopies, excision surgery. So everything you could probably think of. And none of my surgeries resulted in pain relief. My second surgery actually worsened the pain, which was quite alarming. There were reasons, I think, connected to that. I think it's not every time that a surgery is done that all of the endometriosis is removed. And I do believe tissue is aggravated. Obviously, any kind of surgical procedure comes with its risks. And scar tissue is a big one of them. I'm also a person that suffers from keloids. So after my first surgery, I ended up developing a humongous keloid on my belly button. I had to have a debulking surgery done for that, like a plastic surgery to remove it. And I then went on to have steroidal injections regularly to my incision wounds to control the keloid development. So scarring externally means that I also scar terribly internally and develop adhesions and scar tissue. So yeah, in my case, surgery hasn't helped. It's partially because it hasn't effectively removed all of the disease, and I think that obviously has a huge impact. But yeah, I've definitely tried quite a few things, and yeah, we're in desperate need of a cure because none of these things, unfortunately, always work. With some people, they find it helpful. In my case, I haven't had a lot of luck. There are things I use to help self-soothe myself. So I need and depend heavily on my heat pad, my hot water bottle, my TENS machine, I need to be propped up with several pillows, kind of pregnancy pillows, style pillows. I depend on a lot of like deep breathing, and I kind of tap into more somatic practices, tapping and things to kind of calm my nervous system down. I've had pelvic floor physiotherapy, which has been helpful. I've been shown how to kind of do myofascial massage on myself. So I implement that to help with releasing tissue tightness. And I take magnesium and I apply magnesium creams. I take magnesium capsules. I'm on things like folic acid and vitamin D as well, just because those are things that have tipped with these health conditions. My levels have dropped. And as I said, Lansoprazole, Dolcocet, because I also have gallstones, which, connecting to the earlier story of what I went through when I was younger, I always wonder if like there was long-term damage from the kind of pain meds I was taking from 13, regularly up until being an adult now. But unfortunately I deal with acid reflux and gallbladder pain, and the development of gallbladder stones has happened over the years, unfortunately. So I also deal with excruciating migraines, which are hormonally driven. So they always hit 1 to 2 days before my period, day of period, day or two after, and more recently I've been getting them upon ovulation. So they're definitely occurring with shifts, rises and drops in my estrogen, and for that I take sumatriptan. They are brutal, the migraines. When I get hit with a hormonal migraine, I can't have the lights on in a room, I can't look on my phone, I can't have any noise, I have to be in a dark room for a day. And they also cause nausea and vomiting. I think one of the more difficult things with being tried on so many different treatments and medications is the result of jumping from one medication to the next, and the impact that can have on your body, and oftentimes with very short breaks in between, and really with not enough time for your body to restabilize or adapt. Or I think that's a big thing. It's just kind of like chucking a lot of spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks. And there is a long-term impact that the body endures from so many different things being thrown at it. I think the worst thing with surgical procedures has been they've come with a lot of hope, obviously wanting to see an improvement and change, and oftentimes a lot of anxiety, physical recovery needed, emotional impact, and a lot of disappointment with not the desired results. So that's also really grueling and depleting to keep undergoing. So yeah, I mean, I mainly manage with the painkillers and the more therapeutic measures, although they aren't comfort measures, they are survival measures, the TENS machine, the heat pad, all those things. But yeah, those are the ways that I try to manage currently, until such time as there is something better.